Welcome everybody to our Jewelry and Gemmology info session. My name is Paul McClure and I am the program coordinator for the 4 programs that we offer across Jewelry and Gemmology. So welcome everybody, and we're going to ask you to, if you have questions, don't be shy. You can write those into the chat. And I have 2 of my colleagues with me here this morning as well, Shona Kearney and Katharina Muller. So both of them will also help out in terms of answering questions in chat, or maybe even stop me as I'm presenting, and we'll try to answer your questions verbally if we can't do it in the chat. Also watch the chat for some valuable links that will be posted that'll give you more information that you can look up. Things like, as you can see, Katharina's just posted our Instagram account. That's a great one to follow, just in terms of having a different kind of perspective on what's going on through the academic year, both with our students and our graduates, and events that are happening and that we're associated with. So on that note, I'll get started. So up here on the screen, we have our agenda. I'll talk a little bit about the programs and our facilities. We've got some great images, some of the ways in which we engage with the industry. As you probably know, one of the important and valuable sort of aspects of community college is how connected we are with our industry, which means that students get a lot of exposure to the jewelry and gemmology industry, and also many more opportunities to network and ultimately to be employed. So I'll show you some examples of coursework, a little bit about career opportunities, the application process, and then we'll have some time for Q&A. So what I'd like to do to start is I'm going to show you a fun video of our program. You get a good idea of what's happening within our facilities. So this is a short video. Enjoy. So that gives you a little idea of how our studios look in the jewelry area and gemmology area at the college. So 2 images up here on the screen. First of all, Jewelry and Gemmology at George Brown is part of the School of Fashion and Jewelry. And the School of Fashion and Jewelry is in the Center for Arts, Design, and Information Technology. So that includes all sorts of other programs like fashion, of course, graphic design, media and performing arts, as well as information technology. Something that a lot of people don't realize is that we are the largest school in North America that trains students for the jewelry and gemology industry. So first of all, why choose? Why choose GBC? And I think in one word, it's location. We are in the middle of Toronto, downtown Toronto, and we're very close to Dundas Square, which is on the left-hand side image. It's the corner of Dundas and Yonge above Dundas Subway. And that area, something else that people often don't know is the jewelry district for Toronto. And the center really of Canada's jewelry industry. So our campus, which is on the right-hand side, Casa Loma campus, also at a subway stop, so it's very convenient, is only just about a 10-minute, 5-10 minute subway ride down to the jewelry district from the college. So that this downtown location means students have a lot of easy access to supplies, to materials, and a whole network of services and industry professionals, and many of whom have a lot of close ties to the school. A lot of people who work in the industry actually went to George Brown College. And so it's a big, we're part of a big family within the industry, and students have access to that family, so to speak. So the four programs which we have, you see up there are Gemology, which is F105. Gemology is a 1 year, or it's 2 semesters really, 2 semester certificate. So that runs from September to April. And then we have 3 programs in jewelry. We have Jewelry Arts, which is our longest program. It's 6 semesters, so it takes 3 academic years. And then we have Jewelry Methods, which is a 2-year diploma running over 4 semesters. And lastly, we have a what's called Jewelry Essentials, which is a 1-year certificate. All of these programs have slightly different outcomes, and ideally we want you to apply to the program that best suits your goals. Yeah. Gemology is an incredibly valuable training on its own, but it's also especially valuable to a jewelry career, as it does lead to professional accreditation. So we have found that our students who have both gemology and jewelry are the most employable graduates. So often applicants want to have a minimum of a 2-year program, right? So we probably get the most applicants to Jewelry Methods. That's the diploma, the 2-year diploma. But something to consider too is to create a 2-year program by having the Gemology program, the Gemology 1-year certificate, and the Jewelry Essentials certificate, thereby having both of those skill sets, gemology and jewelry, in over a 2-year period. Now, the fundamental differences in the 3 jewelry programs, because that's a question that comes up the most, is that I'll start with Jewelry Essentials. Jewelry Essentials is only 2 semesters. And really what it is all 3 jewelry programs share the first 2 semesters. So you're getting the first year of the gemology of the jewelry programs by taking the Jewelry Essentials. Now you do learn a little bit of jewelry making, but you learn more about the industry. You learn about sort of an introduction to the jewelry industry, a little bit of making jewelry, but a lot more about the business of jewelry. You also learn some computer skills in terms of CAD/CAM, so computer modeling for jewelry. You learn kind of the fundamentals, I guess. And that can be an introduction, right? If you're not sure this is something you want to be involved in for a long time, or you want to get a taste for it. Jewelry Methods is the program that is more focused on technique. So if you want to be a bench jeweler, you want to learn the skills of making jewelry to industry standards. Jewelry Methods is the one. The difference with jewelry arts, fundamentally, the difference with jewelry arts is that it's more for people who want to be a designer, people who want to design their own work and make their own work. So it's also the longest program. And so the students that go through the jewelry arts program certainly come out with the strongest goldsmithing skills and the most well-rounded kind of jewelry education. So having said all that, you also can have the option of transferring between programs. Now, as I said, we really do want you to pick the program that best suits you, but there are lots of the potential for movement within the programs is also there. So the one I mentioned before is that you could take Gemology first and then go into Jewelry Essentials, and that would make a 2-year program. Or you could take Jewelry Essentials and then take Gemology. It doesn't matter what order you do those in. If you are in a jewelry program and at the end of the first year, you decide, oh, I want to stay here longer, or I want to transfer into another program, that is possible too. So that's what this chart is. So you can go from the 1-year Jewelry Essentials program and transfer into the 2-year, into the Jewelry Methods, or into the 3-year Jewelry Arts. Likewise, if you're in the 2-year program, the Jewelry Methods program, you can transfer and stay for the whole Jewelry Arts program. So those opportunities are there. However, they're only there in your first year. You can't transfer after the first year because the curriculums start to diverge and change, and there's different courses. I'll talk a little bit about our facilities now. So our jewelry facilities, the college has one of North America's, as I said, largest and best equipped jewelry schools. We've got amazing digital technologies in the classroom with the use of magnified video demonstrations that you see on the left. So an instructor might be at a bench, and obviously jewelry is very small, right? So by magnifying and putting it up on video screens throughout the classroom, you get a closer look at the details of what we're working on. But then there's also one-on-one instruction at student benches with instructors. And of course, students have ready access to all our equipment. They have a shared bench that is their jewelry bench, as well as tools that are borrowed, but also tools that come as part of your material fees, so that when you leave the program, you're leaving also with some basic tools to get you started, either on your own or within a job. So we also have precious metals, so that's silver and gold, that are available on a credit system. And that's something quite unique to a jewelry program in North America, because most jewelry programs do not have the gold available for students on this credit system. So what this means is you can borrow gold, you can learn to work with it, and you can then buy back your work that you've made out of gold. Or if you don't want to, let's say, it was just a practice with the gold, you can return it to us and it's recycled. It's melted back down and recycled into new material for the future. So fundamentally, all of these jewelry programs are hands-on, right? But there is a lot of theory too. There's a lot of theory. There's a lot of digital education. And so we also teach some courses online. In some cases, it's an entire course. For example, this one, which is the history of jewelry and gemstones. This one is taught all online, and we use an online system called Blackboard, where the faculty meet with the students in the online environment. In other cases, it's part of a course that's taught online. So we call this hybrid learning, where some theory content is delivered online while the practical component is taught on campus in our facilities. And it's very important to be clear right up front. Our program, you really need to have as part, when you come to college, to one of these programs, you need to have a reliable laptop, and you need to have a reliable internet service from your home to ensure your success. More and more, we're using digital technologies, not just in terms of the way we learn with some of these online courses, but also when you're on campus, you often need your laptop. And I'll talk more about some of the digital technologies, the softwares that we use that have really become integral to making jewelry. So here's a great image of one of our studios. We have 5 studios like this with lots of jewelry benches. And then a demonstration bench at the front where you can see an instructor there on the left. This is a typical jewelry studio. There are about 20 to 24 hours of class time per week. Classes can start as early as 8 a.m., whether that's on campus or online. And most classes are done by 4 o'clock. And just to understand the expectations, your students in jewelry are expected to spend as much time outside of class for completing their coursework as they are in class. So as I said, you have 20 or so hours of class time. You need to understand that there's another 20 hours in order for you to be successful in doing your homework or working at the bench. So we're talking about a 40-hour work week. That's a lot, right? It's a full-time program. And so we really caution students not to overextend themselves with part-time work. So you're, sticking to sort of a maximum of about 15 hours of working part-time. Otherwise, you run the risk of not being successful in the program, and then what's the point, right? You really need to invest in your education so you get the best experience out of it. I'll move on here to a few more images. This is more examples of the hands-on. This is shows students in the top right polishing using what are called polishing lathes. And you get the idea that it's very hands-on, right? The jewelry itself is quite beautiful, pretty, very decorative, but the processes themselves aren't necessarily so pretty. They're quite dirty. You get your hands dirty here, and so you have to have that know about that as well, that this is, you're really getting your hands in there, and you're making with your hands. Students are able to work out of the class time. So you have bench access, we call it, early mornings, later in the day, and then usually one day of the weekend as well, where you can come in and have access to the facilities. The important thing to remember is that it's practice and repetition is really essential to learn a craft, the craft of jewelry making, what we call goldsmithing. So again, you really need to have be prepared to invest the time. Oops. I mentioned digital technologies. Digital technology is not only used in the classroom by projecting magnified demonstrations on the videos, but it's also used for actual jewelry design and production. You may have heard of 3D printing. I'm sure you have. You can see some of our 3D printers there in the middle. What we call CAD/CAM, computer automated design, computer aided design, computer aided manufacture, is really the most quickly changing area of our programs. We use a program called Rhino, and every jewelry student is required to learn. We have 3 classes that teach digital technology using Rhino. So just in terms of, how it works, here you can see sort of a process. A ring is designed on the left-hand side is designed within a computer modeling program like Rhino. And then the file is sent to a machine, which either mills it with CNC mill or 3D prints in a castable wax, which you see the green up on the top right. And then finally that object is cast into metal and gemstones are set. So the final ring, the sapphire and diamond white gold ring is there on the bottom. That's partially made digitally, but partially made by hand after the casting process. This is sort of the most traditional side of using these digital technologies for jewelry. However, there's also some really fun and interesting 3D printing out there now, where you can print in other materials like various nylons and plastics and aluminum and titanium. It's a really expanding part of our industry. So this video is one of our graduates and now a teacher in the program who was commissioned to, she's someone who works with 3D printing technologies often, and a little video about one of her projects.
I knew that I want to study jewelry. I remember I would collect those little glass pieces and stones and stare at them for hours. And jewelry was my biggest passion. Initial inspiration for my necklace was a triangle. And then I discovered that triangle is actually the most strong shape in nature. So playing with the triangle with different shapes, and you won't believe how many variations you can just build with one simple geometrical form. The trillion is a flower and a symbol of Ontario. Trillion has pointy petals. It's not really wearable, so I had to work around, and I have even multiple sketches when I was trying to fold it or trying to play with the shape, play with the form to create something wearable.
So Corinna, as I said, is a graduate of our jewelry arts program and is now actually a practicing jewelry designer, maker, and also teaches with us part-time. And so this piece was done for the Mount Sinai Hospital, working with them for a fundraiser that's sponsored by BMO and Mount Sinai Hospital. And this is just an example of some of the kind of partnerships that we have with various organizations across the city. Whenever jewelry is involved, George Brown College gets a phone call to be involved. And so, as I mentioned at the beginning, we have lots and lots of industry partners. And this is just a sample of some of those businesses, those organizations in both gemology and jewelry who partner with us. And so the partners in industry provide our students with things like could be accreditations. So the Canadian Gemmological Association provides a testing and accreditation for our gemology students. Many of these businesses sponsor awards for students. We have about $20,000 worth of awards for graduating students at the end of their programs. Lots of events like the last one I showed. There's internships and of course employment. And lots of these industry people in positions in these businesses sit on our program advisory committee that works with the college to make sure that we stay current and that we are connected to our industry. So I mentioned awards, and one of the big ones is the De Beers Group. So De Beers is a diamond company. They mine diamonds across the world. They mine diamonds in Canada, and they have a student competition called the Shining Light Awards every 2 years, and it's open to students from the countries where De Beers mines diamonds. So that's Canada, Botswana in Africa, Namibia, and South Africa. So those 4 students from across those 4 countries compete, and we are very happy that our graduates often place in the top in this competition. In 2018, Cara Fitzel, you see her designs. She won first prize, and then just very recently, a couple of weeks ago, two of our students won first and second prize in the 2021 competition. I mentioned that field education, or sometimes we call them internships. Field education is an important part of our programs. It's an elective course in the final semester of all the jewelry programs. And it's 120 hours of working in the industry within the GTA. So it's an opportunity to get some job experience, to add to your portfolio, make some really valuable business connections, and perhaps and often getting a part-time or full-time paying gig out of it. So lots and lots of jewelry companies across the city, both large and small, offer these opportunities to our students as part of their program. So let me go on now and talk a little bit about Gemology programs, our facilities and teaching methods. They're pretty similar really to jewelry in the sense that we do both on campus and online courses, or a combination of the two, the hybrid learning. George Brown College has Canada's only full-time college program in Gemology. And we've been running a jewelry and gemology school for over 50 years now, 55 years. So after such a long time, we have amassed a significant collection of diverse and rare gemstones that students have access for testing in the laboratory. And in fact, the labs are so well equipped that we also provide facilities to the Canadian and British Gemological Associations as a location for their students to take practical exams in Toronto. This image gives you a bit of an idea of what a student's doing through the day in the labs, in the Gemology labs. Microscope work, polariscope work, and sorry, my slide stopped here. So here we see students testing under those equipment, the microscopes and polariscopes, individual instruction is balanced with collaborative group learning in a fairly small group. We usually have anywhere between sort of 17 and 22 students in the Gemology program. And Gemology leads then to the possibility to take your accreditation exams through the Canadian Gemmological Association. So after the 2 semesters program, we also run a preparation course to prepare our students or our graduates to write the exams, to be successful in the exams so that they can gain their accreditation as gemologists. So we can see a couple of our students here. And as I mentioned, we have partnerships with both of the Canadian Gemmological Association and the British one. So there's the opportunity to write either or both of those exams to get accreditation. Just like in jewelry, we also, as I mentioned, we also have some courses that are taught online, and some where some of the theory is taught online, and the practical side of using the microscopes and the laboratories, et cetera, is done on our campus. In addition to the Gemology program, there is a little bit of gemology education that comes into the jewelry programs with a course called Gemmology for Jewelers. But it's really just an introduction to that. And as I mentioned before, though, I can't reiterate enough that the ideal education that we recommend for students is to take one of the jewelry programs as well as a gemology program, so that you have both of these skill sets and giving you the most opportunities for employment. Some other opportunities that we have are international for our graduates, and sometimes our students too. We have partnerships with these three universities abroad, and often new partnerships are developing. So most important one in some ways is the Birmingham City University. They have the largest jewelry and gemology programs in the world, located in the UK, in England. And our students get advanced standing, so they can go from one of our jewelry programs, the 2-year or the 3-year, they can go for 1 year and get a degree, a bachelor's degree, Bachelor of Arts degree in jewelry. We also have an exchange program with Kia. Kia is the Copenhagen School of Design and Technology. So there's the opportunity for students to go for a semester to Copenhagen, and we sometimes have students from Denmark, from Copenhagen, come to us. In addition to that, there's also the University of the Arts in London, at the London College of Fashion, where there's also an articulation agreement that allows for advanced standing. So if you want to continue your education at university level outside of Canada in the future, there are opportunities, and George Brown is highly regarded and recognized across the world. This is just a nice image of 2 of our Danish students who came over a couple of years ago in the Jewellery Studio, and a wonderful experience for students to have, foreign students, and learn about other programs. I'll talk a little bit about our faculty. We have 4 full-time faculty, and we have 10 part-time faculty members. And with 14, 15 of us, they offer a broad perspective on the industry. Faculty have worked as bench jewelers, as designers, as custom goldsmiths, art jewelers, gemologists, appraisers, diamond graders, entrepreneurs, and retail managers. So as I mentioned earlier, the careers available in jewelry are extensive, and our faculty reflect those careers. So we have Katharina Muller, Shona Kearney, who are also on this webinar with me today. We also have myself and Wing K Chan, and then, as I said, we have about 10 faculty who are teaching part-time and running their own businesses, as well as teaching. So that gives students a lot of really great exposure to what's happening in the world of gemology and jewelry. I'm going to show you some images now of some coursework. So these images give you just an idea of what to expect in our jewelry programs. So this would be early basic level in the first year, things like sawing and filing and making geometric shapes and being very precise to create these objects first in copper and brass before moving on to silver and eventually gold in your second and third years. So this is the type of things: sawing, filing, box making, construction. Here is some more advanced examples where you're starting to work with silver and creating hollow rings and chains and things like mechanical catches. So this is what you can expect in the second year of a jewelry program. And then here are some examples of gemstone setting samples. There are all the colored gemstones set in the top, and industry skills project like this this gold split shank ring with a diamond setting in the top. Here's some examples of wax carving and modeling. So we teach both of these skills. So carving wax by hand, which is more like, a sculptor's kind of skill. So all the images on the left-hand side are done by hand in the blue and the purple wax. And the green ones on the right are machine carved or 3D printed, the ones in green. So both of these things happen in the industry. However, there is certainly a push and a gradual push in the digital direction in terms of 3D printing. So both of those skills you get with us. We also do production techniques where there might be a project where the students create, say, a small run of maybe 100 or 200 of a particular piece of jewelry. Sometimes it's an outside client, sometimes it's the college itself. We'll commission our department and students to create something like these pins, which were done for various George Brown College anniversaries. And students then get a chance to see how a piece of jewelry is produced in quantity, from design through to manufacture and packaging and presentation. Here's an example of some students' work in production where you see the drawing on the left-hand side and all the different possible ways that it's been output in various materials, 3D printed materials. We also teach drawing and rendering to have a very good grounding for CAD skills and also for working with clients. So starting with simple sketching to drawing, and then traditional hand rendering using paint and colored pencils, and also digital rendering using the same software that we use for creating the wax models. So this example here, technical drawing on the left-hand side, done through this program, Rhinoceros, and the digital rendering of the golden diamond ring on the top right. And every student in the jewelry programs, not in Gemology, but in jewelry, every student must purchase a Rhino license when they start in the program. It's $250, but a valuable investment. That a program that is very versatile and relatively inexpensive compared to some of the ones out there in industry. So it's a $250 investment outside of your tuition, as well as, of course, I mentioned that you need to have a reliable laptop that you can run that software on. So so that you're able to create these technical drawings and these renderings and the actual models that can be cast into finished jewelry. I'll show you a little bit of student work, and then we'll talk a bit about the application. So just to run through, I'm going to speed up a little bit here. Just how this is all jewelry arts student work. So these are the students who would have gone through the 3-year program. So you get an idea of the skill level that they're attaining by the end, working with precious metals and gems. Every student in the final year of the jewelry arts program creates a collection, and that collection of jewelry is based on a theme that's decided on by the student, and they end up making about anywhere between 5 and 8 pieces of jewelry in that collection, and then the collection itself is shown in a group presentation or a group exhibition at the end of the program. So here's an example of one student from a couple of years ago, Agnes. Her theme was around computerization. And so using different symbols and different forms that from our sort of digitized, computerized world, and using them to create a full collection of jewelry. So as I mentioned, we have an annual graduation award ceremony for the industry to come and give out all of the awards to gemology and jewelry students, and for the jewelry arts students to present their work. So for the past few years, we've been doing this at TIFF, which is the Toronto International Film Festival building, the Lightbox on King Street in Toronto. And in their lobby, we show the work, and in one of the theaters, we do the awards. And I'll show you a really quick video clip of one from 2018 or 2019. So this is a nice opportunity for the students, of course, to celebrate the awards and also to show the work to the public, but also for our industry partners to come to the show and see the work and scout out new talent for employment. So let me talk a little bit about careers. It's very, I've talked a little bit about it already in terms of our faculty, but the careers are very broad in jewelry, and there's lots of specializations. So on the jewelry side, you know, things that could be in your future after these programs are manufacturing, wholesale, retail. Often students will start in retail even when they're in school. But ultimately, a bench goldsmith could be a designer if you've gone through the arts program, an independent studio goldsmith. There also some students go into specialty trades, becoming gem setters or specifically for repair or casting or polishing. CAD technician, which is also very applicable to other industries in design, not just jewelry. By learning the Rhino software, you potentially have that opportunity to work as a CAD technician. Many of our students are entrepreneurs, selling their own work, possibly working part-time for another jeweler and working part-time for themselves. And then across jewelry, in all of its different sort of forms, which we call fine jewelry, fashion jewelry, and bridge jewelry. So fine jewelry being precious diamonds and precious gemstones and gold and platinum and such, and fashion jewelry being more following the trends of fashion and lesser expensive materials, and the in-between, which is often silver and gemstone jewelry, called bridge jewelry. In terms of our careers in gemology, here we have one of our graduates who has a gem, he's a gem dealer and gem cutter in Toronto. And in gemology, we've also across the sectors of manufacturing, wholesale, and retail. Graduates become buyers, gem dealers, become graders or sorters, diamond graders, and also with further education become appraisers. And also often entrepreneurs, or often working for independent businesses. Many of the small jewelry businesses all over the country, all over the world, in fact, often want to have a gemologist, a certified gemologist on the staff. And so once again, the jeweler gemologist is a career option where you have some jewelry skills and some gemology skills as a nice package together. Just a little bit about what it takes. Successful jewelry students. You need to have good eyesight. That doesn't mean you can't have glasses. Glasses are fine, corrected vision, but you need to have good eyesight because, as I've said, it's very detailed work. You need to also have a high degree of manual dexterity. If you like working with your hands, jewelry is a potential program for you. A lot of mechanical inclinations. You like to know how things work and how things are fit together. You do need a lot of patience, however. And although there is a lot of work on one's own in jewelry, there is also a lot of teamwork and collaboration. Often a piece of jewelry in the manufacturing world goes through many different hands, many specialists before it actually reaches the client who's going to wear it. So teamwork is important. Drawing skills are important, and we teach you those drawing skills here in the programs. And also, really, it's about a commitment, a time commitment. You have to spend many hours in the studio to develop the craft of working with your hands to make jewelry. In gemology too, you need good eyesight. I think maybe obvious, but color blindness does present a challenge. You're working with identifying gemstones that are often lots of different colors. Having good eyesight and correct, not being color impaired is important. Also a high degree of manual dexterity. You're holding and working with very small and very valuable gemstones, holding tweezers and small tools like loops. You want to have a bit of a scientific mind for sure. Gemology is certainly leans onto the scientific side of thinking through and problem solving and testing. Really good memory skills, because there's a lot of facts and figures in gemology to be able to ultimately pass those accreditation exams. A lot of patience, good teamwork and collaboration as well, and ability to spend many hours. Because again, just like jewelry, it's about spending time with the gemstones and learning them and learning the processes of testing and identifying. A little bit about tuition fees now before we wrap up. These are the 2021 tuition fees. These the 2022 ones have not been released, but generally they're going to be quite close to these. So in a jewelry program, you can expect your tuition to be about $5,500 per year. So that's for 2 semesters. And within that, there is a material fee, lab fee that is included, so that you get, as I mentioned, the basic toolkit, which you leave with after completing the program. And then there will be some other fees, textbooks, supplies, materials. I mentioned the Rhino software, and that sort of is each year, depending on how long a program you're in, changes. So in year 1, you're looking at about $500 to $600 extra expenses. In year 2, you're looking at about $700 to $1,000, and in year 3, it can be anywhere from about $1,200 up to $2,500, because you're working more with gold and more expensive materials. In terms of international fees, I don't know if any people here are international students, but the international fees are about 3 times the domestic. So you're looking at about $17,000 per year or per 2 semesters. Gemology is not too different, a little bit less for gemology, with a domestic fee of about $4,700, $4,691. And in gemology, you have more textbook fees, but the textbooks for the whole 1-year program come in at about $750. You also get some materials and supplies at the start of your both semesters, in terms of some tools that you will take away with you to use in your work. The application cycle takes us, applications for next September will open this month. I believe they just opened. Domestic students apply through OCAS, the Ontario College Application Service. So you don't apply through George Brown, you apply through OCAS. And if you're an international student, you do apply through George Brown through our online application system. George Brown College will then gets notified by OCAS that you've applied, and George Brown then notifies you, the applicant, of any outstanding items. So those could be, you have to do English testing, or you have to send in your transcripts, or maybe your grade 12 English. The next sort of process, next sort of step in the process is that if you meet all of the application criteria, you've sent everything in, and providing there's room in the programs, the earlier you apply, the more likely there is going to be room in the programs. And then the college notifies you of your acceptance. Or if you're quite late in the process, you may go on a wait list if we're already full, or if you don't meet all the requirements, you may be declined. Your next step is that you would have to confirm the offer from the college. And again, if you're domestic, you confirm that through OCAS. And if you're international, you confirm it through George Brown's OAS. And we have a thing called StuView, which once you've applied, the college will send you information about getting online and having access to StuView, which is a place where you can see the status of your application and any problems or any missing parts. StuView is something you'd use your whole time at the college as a student to do anything from registering, applying to the programs, all the way through to registration for courses once you are a student. The registration, I don't know why my slide is jumping there. So then the registration information will be sent to you in June. That tells you what courses you need to register for. You go online through StuView, and at the beginning of July, you register for your courses. And then we have an orientation for all our new students, one afternoon or morning the week before classes begin. So that tends to be the end of August, early September. And we always begin on after the Labor Day holiday, which is a Canadian holiday on the first Monday of September. So this year it will be September 6th is the day that classes start. That's the Tuesday right after Labor Day. And it's really, I can't stress how important it is that you are, that if you apply and get into our programs, you really have to be there right at the start. So much happens at the beginning in terms of orientation and getting tools and getting benches and getting set up. And we have students who don't take the start date seriously often have a lot of problems because they get off on the wrong foot, and it can take ages. It can take up to a month before they feel that they're back on track because you're missing a lot of important orientation information in that very first week of school. So that wraps things up. I thank you for attending, and we have a little bit of time for some questions. If you need to reach out to me, please take my email address down there, pmcclure@georgebrown.ca, and I'd be happy to answer your questions as you go through the process. But right now we'll open it up to, and Shona is, I believe, answering. I haven't been following the chat during the presentation, but
it's been very quiet. So I wondered, it has. Sorry, I'm trying to fix my camera here. Yeah, I was curious if anyone wanted to share what area they were interested in. Is it gemology? Is it jewelry arts, jewelry methods? Does anyone have any questions? How many people are interested in gemology? Anyone?
oh, it's a quiet Saturday morning.
Very, yes, it is. Is anyone attending? Oh, new message. Oh, is anyone attending from out of country? It's probably even earlier or later. Not sure. Oh, I think I see a question here. Hold on. Oh, I've lost my Q&A. 1 second. If interested in gemology and jewelry, would you recommend starting with gemology or jewelry?
Oh, that's a good question. To be honest, we have had students to go in both directions. I would suggest that you start with the one that you're most excited about. You know, like if you're really leaning towards you're a gemstone lover, you've been a rock hound, you
like love science.
Yeah, then I would start with the gemology program. You know, while you're a student in the first year, you'll get to know a little bit about the jewelry side. But likewise, you know, if you're more interested in learning about jewelry from the beginning, and as I said too, you'll get a little bit of gemology. There is one course in the jewelry in the first year of the jewelry. So, you know, yeah, it really does not matter. And so for that reason, I would go with your passion first. Go with what you're most excited about.
Yeah, so there's a point here, Olivia, you do learn a little bit of gemology in the jewelry arts program or in all 3 jewelry programs. So it's a good introduction, but if you wanted more in-depth and knowledge of really identifying the stones and inclusions and all that side, you'd want to take the gemology program after the jewelry program, right?
Yeah, and so Katharina also makes a good point. You know, there are crossover courses, so you would, in either direction, you'll have a little bit of flexibility in when you're doing your second program, whether that's after gemology or after jewelry.
There's another question here from Chantal about if there's a deadline for the application and is there an average mark needed, like a grade for the application entry?
There is, but it's we don't have any longer, we don't have like a portfolio or anything to get into the programs. The in terms of a deadline, really, the college would prefer ideally that you're applying by March at the latest. However, having said that, the earlier you apply, the better, because programs do fill up. There are only about 10 spots on the one-year program. There's 20 in gemology, and there's about 30 in the jewelry methods and the arts each. So once you've identified the program that you're most interested in, I would suggest you apply. Another point to make too is that when you apply as a domestic student, so if you're here in Canada and you're domestic, you apply through OCAS, and there's a one-time application fee. I've kind of forgotten what it is. I think it's about $25, but on that application fee, you can put up to 3 programs that you would like to apply to. So what I suggest is that you fill in all 3. You might as well, it's the one-time application fee anyway. And that way, if one of the programs is full, you would be waitlisted on that one, but then you could get into the second one. So for example, if you want to put the Gemology program, put the Jewelry Essentials program, and then maybe the Jewelry Arts program, but put all 3 down so that you're taking advantage of that application.
Great. There's another question here from Fernanda. Can I add some gemology courses to my jewelry program? And the answer is not really. You can continue on to the gemology program after completing jewelry, and you'll have exemptions from some of the crossover programs. But the gemology program is quite specific and intensive and directed to really getting a good handle on the science that's behind the gemology. So it's sort of a progressive course, right? We can't really add.
No. Yeah,
No.
really the only gemology content in jewelry is in the first year, and it's an introduction to gemology. It's called Gemology for Jewelers. So it's really more about understanding gemstones from the perspective of what you can put in a ring, or what you can what you can and can't heat up, or what you can't put under a steam cleaner, and things like that, like very practical things around gemstones and jewelry. I want to sort of mention too, like the programs generally are not, you don't really choose too many of your courses. It's called block registration. So that means there's a set of courses that you have to take in each semester. You don't really have a lot of options. There are some electives, but they really not until in your very last semester. So there's not a lot of sort of customization or tailoring within the programs to pick different courses. Even though, I've said that we're the largest program in North America, we are still relatively small. It's a small, we have about 225 students in total over a 1-year period. So often courses only run once a year. They don't run in every semester. So the best way to sort of manage that is that we say it's a very controlled sort of schedule of what courses you take. No, Shona, you.
Sorry,
yeah.
I thought I had a quick button to unmute, but it didn't work. So are there any other questions? Anyone looking for more specifics about any of the programs, facilities?
I might remind people again to go to our Instagram page if you want to follow us, and you'll get to see a lot more about what's going on. We have every 2 weeks, we have presentations that are done with industry people that we talk about, the competitions that students are in, and it's just a way of staying in touch and understanding a little bit more and getting excited, assuming that everyone here is going to be applying to the program. You get some, so there it is in the chat.
Twice.
Oh, twice.
We love our Instagram page.
It's GBC Jewelry, and that's jewelry spelt the Canadian way. So a lot of people wonder, why is jewelry spelled two ways? And the reason is that the Americans spell jewelry Jewelry, and Canadians and British and Australians, the rest of the English-speaking world, spells it with two L's and an extra E. What?
Yeah, sorry, Olivia has a question. What average is needed to be accepted in the program?
Olivia, are you talking about the average from high school, from grade 12? Yes. So it is in the 60s. It's not a super high academic threshold. I can't remember the exact number, but it's sort of like around 65. So it's in that vicinity anyway, in the mid 60s. So it's more about how fast you apply. Well, yes, it is more about that.
Yeah.
I think, you know, if you know that this is a program you want to apply to, like I said, apply early, apply to 3 of the programs, and secure your spot. There's a bit of a process. You know, you have to go through a process. So once you've applied, you then have to wait until the acceptance offer comes, and then you have to accept that offer. And so, you know, it takes a couple months before you're actually all secured position in the program. So yeah, I would say as soon as possible. If you're an international student, Katharina says, the open house is open for about another hour, and you can speak about that process, which I didn't cover in too much detail, but you can find more information on the website, or move over to that webinar, or not webinar, it's a Q&A room, I think.
Yeah.
So if nobody else has any further questions, we'll say happy Saturday to you. And I'm going to just pop my email in here in case you didn't grab it off the screen. Of course, you can also get it off our website. And there is a lot of information on the page on our website, but that's my email if you think of a question after we hang up from here, or anytime over your application process. Okay. So thank you very much, everyone, for attending. Thank you, Shona and Katharina, for assisting with the chat and everything. And you're all very welcome. And I wish you a great weekend, and look forward to hopefully seeing you as one of our students next September. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.